We have another one here from Dan, and I'll throw it to you right away, Cam, and I'll jump in if there's anything else to say after. But this is what he says. He says, "What's the best type of argument against people who say that we are just one-issue voters?"
I would start off, Dan, by saying that I hate being a one-issue voter. But there's a reason why I'm a one-issue voter. And what I often do to help explain why I'm a one-issue voter at this point, tragically, in Canada is I try not to toddler, like Peter, you and I do constantly with our analogies in the conversations that we're having. Instead of talking about preborn children because they're often difficult to relate to, and it's really easy to abstract from them and dehumanize them through that. Let's talk about toddlers. Let's talk about if in our country there were several political parties that supported killing toddlers and one political party that vaguely opposed it and allowed their members of parliament to try to prevent that from happening and at least have the conversation. Would we ever accuse somebody of being a one-issue voter when it came to whether or not we can directly and intentionally kill toddlers, largely with our tax money? Because they're not thinking about the economy or not thinking about the environment or not thinking about other things. I long for a day when I don't have to worry about abortion as being a ballot issue. I long for a day in which everybody in Canada recognizes that abortion is a human rights violation, and we can start having more meaningful conversations about the economy and the environment and infrastructure and all sorts of other things. But in reality, right now, we are dealing with one of the worst human rights violations in not only our nation's history, but in human history. And because of that, we have to stay laser focused on doing everything that we possibly can to protect those preborn children. Obviously, Peter, you and I are doing as much educational work as we possibly can. But there's a lot of really good political initiatives that are working towards nominating and electing better pro-life politicians, building up grassroots support for those politicians so they can speak with confidence. I think that this is a tragic reality here in Canada. I know that it's a reality in other countries around the world, most notably to the south of us, with a two-party system largely that you might not agree with a ton of other content that's on a platform. But when you look at something as heinous as killing the weakest, most vulnerable members of the human family, if ever you were going to be a one-issue voter, I feel like this would be the time to be a one-issue voter. I guess. What do you think? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I know there's people who are against being a one issue voter in principle, but the question I have for people is, what is that one issue, right? Because I'm against being a one issue voter when it comes to something, frivolous, perhaps. I'm not going to say something because everything's important to someone. Um, but we could, look at something frivolous and say, you know what, like I someone else would say, that's not frivolous. I'm a one issue voter on that. And we're like, yeah, no, but that issue, is not super important in light of some of the other issues that we're dealing with. And so what is that one issue? That one issue that we're talking about today is abortion. And abortion is the direct and intentional killing of young human beings, right? Like Cam, like you mentioned, Cam, with that analogy of trotting out a toddler and saying, what if we're taking out, grade 2 students across the country? Would anyone criticize you for being a one issue voter? Probably not, because that one issue is a human rights injustice that's ending the lives of young human beings, which is the exact same thing that we're seeing when it comes to abortion. And so what's that one issue? That one issue is abortion. What is abortion? Abortion is the direct and intentional killing of human beings. And so we have to be, as pro-lifers who are committed to ending this injustice and fighting against it and saving as many preborn children as we can, we have to be committed to voting in that way as well, recognizing the priority of the issue of abortion. So that's where I would come, and I would use the same analogy as you, Cam. I know you can throw in many different injustices in the sort of trot out the toddler category, and you can use some analogies and some thought experiments as well. But trotting out the toddler as you did was a great way to respond to that, to highlight what this one issue is and why it's important for us to prioritize it over so many of the other issues that we are facing, or just so many other things that are discussed politically. So that's a great question. Thank you so much for that, Dan. I hope we answered that sufficiently for you. thank you so much for tuning in to the Pro Life Guys podcast. If you want to learn more about the abortion war, if you want to hear some great conversations that we have with some of our pro-life heroes, or if you want to learn apologetics, how you can winsomely and effectively and compassionately have conversations on abortion so that you too can see someone change their mind and see lives saved, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our new content.